You guys will never believe what happened. I just turned 18 like 6 days ago, and being an adult is already a total adventure. I'm living in this artsy apartment building in the city's creative hub, chasing my dream of becoming a graphic novelist, and my neighbor, Michael, is this older guy with a retired florist vibe. Think silver hair, kind eyes, and hands that know how to make anything bloom. So the other night, I was feeling super bold, and I did something totally wild. Picture this, I'm in his kitchen cooking a full-on dinner just for him. Garlic, herbs, the works. When he walked in and saw the table set, his face, pure shock and maybe something more. Want to know how it played out? Keep watching, because this story's all about bold moves and connections that simmer like a perfect sauce. Like and subscribe for more. Sarah had just turned 18 6 days ago, and the thrill of her new adulthood surged through her like a burst of color on a blank canvas. Her small apartment in the city's arts district was her creative sanctuary, filled with sketchbooks, colored pencils, and the faint scent of coffee, where she poured her heart into her dream of becoming a graphic novelist. The milestone of her 18th birthday felt like a key unlocking a world of possibilities. Freedom to take risks, chase passions, and make choices that felt daring and new. Her latest comic panel, a figure stirring a pot in a glowing kitchen, reflected her restless energy, its lines bold and vibrant, much like her own life right now. But lately, her thoughts kept drifting to Michael, her neighbor down the hall, whose quiet kindness had become a distraction she couldn't shake. At 61, Michael was a retired florist with a gentle charm that had caught her eye since she moved in 4 months ago. His silver hair was neatly trimmed, his kind blue eyes crinkled with years of arranging flowers and sharing smiles, and his hands, calloused from years of tending gardens, moved with a quiet grace. His morning neighbor in the hallway, paired with a warm smile, made her heart skip. She'd told herself it was nothing, just admiration for a kind older man who'd spent his life bringing beauty to the world. But her new adulthood fueled a boldness she couldn't suppress. And tonight, that boldness led her to his apartment. It was early evening, the building quiet, the golden light of dusk filtering through the windows. Sarah had been at Michael's earlier that day, helping him sort plants for a community garden project, and their conversation about flowers, art, and the stories behind each bloom had left her buzzing with energy. She'd noticed a recipe card on his counter, a simple pasta dish he'd mentioned, and an idea sparked. Wearing a simple t-shirt and jeans, she slipped into his apartment, his door left ajar, a habit he'd mentioned, trusting the building's tight-knit community, and set to work in his kitchen. The smell of garlic and herbs filled the small space, steam rising from the stovetop as she stirred a creamy sauce, her heart pounding with her just-turned-18 confidence. She set the table with care, plating the food, the clink of silverware against porcelain breaking the silence. Michael walked in expecting his usual quiet evening, his jacket slung over his shoulder, only to stop in his tracks. His blue eyes widening as he saw Sarah standing by the counter, her dark blonde hair loose, her hazel eyes sparkling with mischief. She set down a plate in front of him, her smile soft but knowing. "I made it just for you," she said, brushing her hair back. "I just turned 18. Figured it was time I treated you." He hesitated, fork in hand, staring at the meal, perfectly plated pasta, a side of roasted vegetables, a glass of sparkling water. "Sarah," he said, his voice a low, warm rumble tinged with surprise and amusement. "You didn't have to do this. What's the occasion?" She grinned, leaning against the counter, her heart racing with her own daring. "Just felt like it," she teased, her voice playful but charged. "I'm an adult now. Thought I'd see if I could make your night a little brighter." Michael chuckled, setting his jacket aside, his eyes lingering on her, the air thick with flirty tension. "Just turned 18 and you're taking over my kitchen? That's a bold move." She stepped closer, the scent of herbs mingling with her confidence. "Gotta make the most of it, right? New rules, new adventures." He sat at the table, his smile slow, knowing, his eyes twinkling. "Your trouble, Sarah, turning my quiet evening into this." The clink of his fork against the porcelain broke the silence, but it didn't cut the tension. Every bite carried more weight than the last, the simple dinner charged with a flirty energy that neither of them could explain away. Sarah's pulse pounded, her new adulthood making her feel bold, alive. "Good trouble, I hope," she said, her voice soft but daring as she sat across from him. Her own plate untouched. "The best kind," he said, his voice low, his smile warm, the moment simmering like the sauce on the stove. The next morning, Sarah woke in her own apartment, Michael's laugh lingering in her mind, her dreams tangled with the memory of his kitchen, the way his eyes had held hers over the dinner table. She shook it off, blaming her impulsiveness, but her thoughts kept drifting to him as she headed to her part-time job at a local cafe. Work was busy, pouring lattes and sketching comic panels during breaks, but every time her phone buzzed, she hoped it was him. Around noon, a text came through. "My kitchen's still humming from your dinner." Impressive for an 18-year-old troublemaker. Her heart skipped and she smiled, typing back, "Barely. Just turned 18, so I'm allowed to shake things up, right?" His reply was quick. "You're shaking up plenty. Coffee later? I owe you for the best meal I've had in years." Her pulse raced and she hesitated, her fingers hovering over the keys. She should keep things simple, play it safe, but her just-turned-18 heart was bold, hungry for the spark she'd felt last night. "You're on. I'm at the cafe till 5. Bring your best flower story." That afternoon, Michael walked into the cafe, a small notebook tucked under his arm, his grin disarming as he slid into a booth. "Thought I'd bring a story, as requested," he said, passing her the notebook. His fingers brushing hers, the contact sending a spark up her arm. Sarah took the notebook, her cheeks flushing as she glanced at the handwritten note about a rare orchid he'd once cultivated. "You're spoiling me," she teased, leaning across the table. "First your kitchen, now your stories. What's next?" He shrugged, his blue eyes twinkling. "Maybe I'm just trying to keep up with the new 18-year-old in the building." "You're making waves already." Her heart raced and they talked. The cafe's hum fading as their conversation flowed. Her comic sketches, his years arranging flowers, the way their dinner had shifted something between them. The tension was a constant undercurrent, every shared laugh and glance adding to it. Sarah's mind wandered to the way the kitchen had felt alive last night, the way his smile had warmed her, and she wondered how far she could push this newfound boldness. "Your trouble," he said, his voice low, leaning forward, his elbow brushing hers on the table. "Just turned 18 and you're already turning my evenings upside down," she grinned, her heart pounding. "Good kind of trouble, I hope." His smile was slow, knowing, a spark of mischief in his eyes. The best kind. They lingered in the booth, the notebook open between them, and Sarah found herself opening up more than she'd planned. Her fears about her comics not being good enough, her excitement about being 18, her dreams of seeing her work in print. Michael listened, his eyes steady, his presence grounding her like a perfectly arranged bouquet. "You've got something special," he said, his voice sincere, his gaze unwavering. "Your comics, they're bold like you. Don't let those doubts hold you back. The world needs your stories." Her heart swelled, caught off guard by his encouragement, the warmth in his words wrapping around her like a cozy blanket. "Thanks," she said, her voice soft. "That means a lot." The next day, Sarah's nerves were electric as she prepared for a community garden project Michael was helping organize at the local park. She'd volunteered to assist, curious about his world, and wore a simple t-shirt and jeans, her hair tied back, her sketchbook tucked into her bag for breaks. When she arrived, Michael was setting up planters, his blue eyes lighting up when he saw her. "Glad you made it," he said, handing her a pair of gardening gloves, his fingers grazing hers. "Didn't expect you to be an early bird after last night," she grinned, slipping on the gloves. "Just turned 18. Gotta keep you on your toes." The project was hands-on, Michael guiding the group through planting herbs and flowers, his voice warm and steady as he explained soil techniques. Sarah watched him, mesmerized by the way his hands moved, confident and gentle, like an artist with soil instead of a pencil. When he helped her adjust a seedling, his hand brushing hers, her heart skipped, the contact electric. "You're a natural," he said, his voice low, his eyes catching hers. "Got an artist's touch, even with plants." "Thanks," she said, her cheeks flushing, their faces close. "You're not bad at teaching, though you're terrible at keeping your distance." He laughed, stepping back, his eyes twinkling. "Maybe I don't want to keep my distance." Her breath caught, the air charged with unspoken possibility. "Careful, Michael," she teased, her heart pounding. "I'm 18 now. I might take that personally." His smile was slow, knowing. "Maybe I want you to." The project stretched into the afternoon, and Sarah lingered, helping Michael clean up. They talked about her comics, his favorite flowers, the way their building felt like a small universe of its own. Every glance, every brush of their hands as they packed up tools, added to the tension, a tightrope she was eager to walk. Over the next few days, Michael became a constant in Sarah's life, slipping into her routine with an ease that thrilled her. He'd stop by the cafe with extra plants from the garden project, his grin betraying the excuse. They'd text late at night sharing snippets of their lives, Michael's stories of creating floral displays for weddings, Sarah's dreams of publishing her graphic novel, her sketches taking on a new vibrancy inspired by their connection. Each interaction was laced with flirty tension, a push and pull that left her dizzy. One afternoon, Michael invited her to a local farmer's market, claiming he needed her artist's eye to pick out fresh produce for a new recipe. "Thought you'd like the vibe," he said over the phone, his voice warm. "And I'd like your company." She agreed, her heart fluttering as she chose a sundress and sneakers, her sketchbook tucked into her bag for inspiration. The market was alive with color, fresh fruits, handmade crafts, and the hum of a street musician's guitar. Michael was at her side, his jacket brushing her arm, his laughter warm as she teased him about his obsession with perfect carrots. "You're hopeless," she said, laughing as he inspected a carrot with exaggerated care. "Says the girl who took over my kitchen," he shot back, nudging her playfully, his eyes twinkling. Their hands brushed as they reached for a basket of strawberries. And neither pulled away, the contact lingering, sending a spark through her. They sat on a bench sharing a fresh peach, their conversation weaving through her comic ideas, his days arranging flowers, the way their paths kept crossing. The tension was a constant undercurrent, every shared laugh and glance adding to it. Sarah's heart raced, her just-turned-18 confidence urging her to lean closer, but she held back, savoring the spark, the way it made her feel alive. "Your trouble," he said, his tone teasing but his eyes serious as he handed her a bite of the peach, his fingers grazing hers. She grinned, taking a bite, her cheeks flushing. "Just turned 18, trouble's my thing now." He laughed, shaking his head, his eyes never leaving hers. "You're gonna keep me up past my bedtime, aren't you?" "Count on it," she said, her voice playful, her heart pounding. One evening, Michael invited her to his apartment for a late-night recipe discussion, claiming he needed her opinion on a new dish he was developing. Sarah hesitated, her heart racing at the idea of being in his kitchen again, the memory of their dinner still vivid, but her curiosity won out. His apartment was warm, filled with the scent of herbs and flowers, his kitchen a cozy mix of modern appliances and rustic charm. They stood at the counter, a notebook of recipes between them, and talked. Her latest comic panel, his favorite dishes, the way their dinner had sparked something new. "Sarah," he said, his voice low, leaning forward, his eyes steady. "I'm not just here for the recipes or the coffee runs. You know that, right?" Her heart stuttered, her breath catching, the memory of their dinner flashing in her mind. "I suspected." He reached out, his fingers brushing her wrist, light but deliberate, the contact sending a shiver through her. "Good, because I'm not good at pretending I don't want something. And I want to know you. Really know you," she swallowed, her voice unsteady, her heart pounding with the thrill of her own daring. "Your trouble, Michael." "Maybe," he said, his thumb tracing a slow circle on her wrist, the touch sparking something new. "But you're not running. Just turned 18 and you're already breaking all the rules." She laughed, a shaky sound, and leaned into the moment, the heat of his touch igniting a fire in her just-turned-18 heart. "Maybe I like breaking them," she said, her voice playful but honest, her eyes locked on his. He smiled, his eyes twinkling with a mix of amusement and something deeper. "Good, because I'm starting to like it too." The following week, Sarah's life felt like a comic panel bursting with color, each moment with Michael adding new lines to her story. The cafe was busy, but he was a constant distraction, his presence lingering in her thoughts like a half-finished sketch. He'd started leaving notes with his extra plants, small, handwritten things tucked into pots. "Found a flower today that reminded me of you. Too bold for my garden? M." Or, "Bet I can guess your favorite comic by the end of the week. Hint, it's not Wonder Woman. M." Each note made her smile, her heart race, her just-turned-18 confidence growing with every interaction. Her coworker Mia noticed, cornering her at the cafe during a lull. "Michael, huh?" she said, her tone teasing but cautious, her eyes narrowing. "He's got you all flustered." "Be careful, Sarah." "I'm just having fun," Sarah said, but the words felt hollow. her mind replaying the warmth of his kitchen, the spark of his touch. She wasn't sure what she was doing, only that Michael made her feel alive, like a character stepping into a bold new arc. One night, they met for a quiet evening walk through the arts district, claiming he needed to clear his head after a long day. "Thought you'd like the inspiration," he said, his voice warm. "And I'd like your company." She agreed, wearing a jacket and jeans, her hair loose, the city's lights casting a soft glow as they wandered the streets. The district was quiet, the shops closed, but the murals and sculptures gave it a vibrant energy. Michael was at her side, his jacket brushing her arm, his stories of old floral displays making her laugh as they passed a neon-lit cafe. "You're good at this," she said, her voice teasing as they paused by a mural of a starry sky, making a walk feel like a story. He grinned, his eyes catching the neon glow. "Takes one to know one." "You're not exactly boring, Sarah," she laughed, nudging him playfully. "Just turned 18. Gotta keep things interesting." They stopped by the mural, their shoulders brushing as they studied it, the tension a constant undercurrent. Sarah's heart raced, her just-turned-18 confidence urging her to lean closer. But she held back, savoring the spark, the way it made her feel like she was living in one of her comics. One night, they met for a late-night coffee run at a 24-hour diner, the city quiet around them. The diner was all neon lights and retro booths, the air filled with the scent of fries and coffee. They sat across from each other, sharing a plate of fries, Michael's presence steady, his stories of bustling flower markets painting vivid pictures in her mind. But the tension was a constant undercurrent, every shared laugh and glance adding to it, the memory of their dinner lingering like an unfinished sketch. "You're different," he said, his voice low, leaning forward, his elbow brushing hers on the table. "Just turned 18 and you've got this fire." It's hard to look away. Her cheeks flushed, and she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, her heart pounding. "Good, I don't want you to look away." His laugh was low, warm, his eyes twinkling with a mix of amusement and something deeper. "Careful what you wish for." They lingered in the diner, the fries growing cold, and Sarah opened up more than she'd planned. Her fears about her comics not measuring up, her excitement about being 18, her dreams of seeing her work in print. Michael listened, his eyes steady, his presence grounding her like a perfectly arranged bouquet. "You've got something special," he said, his voice sincere, his gaze unwavering. "Your comics, they're bold like you. Don't let those doubts hold you back. The world needs your stories." Her heart swelled, and she smiled, caught off guard by his encouragement, the warmth in his words wrapping around her like a cozy blanket. "Thanks," she said, her voice soft. "That means a lot." They walked back to the building, the night air cool, the city quiet around them. At her apartment door, Sarah turned to face him, her keys dangling, her heart pounding. The memory of their dinner, the bold move that had started this spark flashed in her mind, and the tension between them felt stronger than ever. "You're making it really hard to keep this neighborly," she said, her voice a mix of teasing and truth. Her hazel eyes locked on his. Michael stepped closer, his hand resting on the doorframe above her, his body close enough to feel his warmth, his presence steady but electric. "Neighborly's overrated," he said, his voice low, rich, carrying the weight of their shared moments. "What do you want, Sarah?" Her mouth went dry, her heart racing with the thrill of her new adulthood. What did she want? Safety, simplicity, the life she knew? Or this? Him, the thrill, the fire he ignited in her just-turned-18 heart? "I don't know," she whispered. But her eyes lingered on his lips, betraying her. The memory of their dinner a quiet pulse in the back of her mind. He smiled. Slow and knowing, his blue eyes warm but intense. "You do. And I'm not going anywhere until you say it," she laughed. A shaky sound and stepped back into her doorway, clutching her bag like a shield, her heart pounding with the possibilities of her new adulthood. "Good night, Michael," she said, her voice soft but charged with unspoken promise, the spark between them brighter than the city lights outside. His laugh was warm, promising, his eyes locked on hers as he leaned back. "Good night, Sarah. But this isn't over." She closed the door, her heart racing, the memory of his kitchen, his dinner, his touch lingering like a sketch she couldn't erase. As she leaned against the door, she smiled, her just-turned-18 heart ablaze with the thrill of what might come next, knowing she was ready to keep pushing the boundaries of her new adulthood, one bold move at a time.